sorry, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to SportSentric. Sorry about this. The camera's now decided to malfunction and not work, but we will make a show tonight about the World Cup semi-finals. Once the camera's working, then you'll be able to see me because I'm right here facing everybody. But unfortunately, again, we keep having technical difficulties. Sorry for that, everybody in the chat. But at least you can hear me because me and Corey have been backstage and just not been working in the with the sound-wise. So anyway, hopefully we can get this camera sorted and we'll be able to see me again. But thank you for coming back to the channel, and we're going to talk about the semi-finals and finals of the World Cup. And we're going to talk about France versus Spain and hopefully England versus Argentina, what our thoughts are in the match. And I'd love to be able to see you and tell you this in person, but hey, it is what it is. But anyway, first of all, we're going to, now my mic's gone off. Oh no, now my mic's working again. Which one do you want? Do you want my mic working or the camera working? Which one is it? Come on, please tell me. Please show me some mercy tonight, please. I want to curse you, silly. But unfortunately, you didn't have to hear me come with this one. I think to come talk about the semi-finals of the World Cup. And France versus Spain, we're going to talk about them first. We're going to talk about how my camera's not working, but we're going to talk about let's see if we can turn it back, please. Let's see if that will work. Oh, wait a minute. We've got a bit of vision. Give me 2 seconds. So if I put it like that, I think you can see me. Hopefully you can. Hopefully I'm not too big for you. But we've had to change the camera angle, so hopefully you can see me now. Yeah, France versus Spain. This is going to be an interesting game because Spain are on a win record of about 68 wins, I believe it is. And going into this World Cup, you would have been mistaken to think they're not one of the favourites for it, even though they haven't played brilliantly. And Yamal was off for 2 months of an injury before the World Cup. They have been pretty to the eye. And for me, they've lacked a whip in a loads of games. You see that Nico Williams has it on the on the left-hand side, and Yamal has it on the right-hand side. And when they're available, does Spain look more of a threatening aspect? Marino's come on the last 2 games, and he's been the match winner where he's, well, the game changer for them. And while I love my beloved France, we've walked into this tournament majestic. When the Euros, in the last Euros, we weren't exactly pretty to the eye. This time around, we've walked into this competition and we've looked good from game 1. And I've liked the way that Deschamps has the 2 behind in the midfield who do the donkey where they get up and down. You've got Manu Kone and he's interchanged between that and Tchouameni. But you have those 2 behind the driving 3 behind Mbappe. And they've influenced, I think those driving midfielders have given the platform for the likes of Elise to get forward, for the likes of Doué to perform, Barcola. And we haven't even seen Turkey, to be fair, this tournament. And so we've got interchangeable options to play against Spain. But it's the fact that Spain just don't concede goals which worry me in this game. And as a French fan, the player who worries me the most would be Lamine Yamal. Part of me remembers 2 years ago where Lamine picked up the ball, drove infield and unleashed one Hail Mary of a goal against us. And it flew into the top corner. And in this tournament, I've not been impressed with Mike Mink and Upamecano. Both of them, to me, have a bit of a Bozo journey. And you're just not expecting, you're not sure what you're going to expect from both of them. So going into this game, I'm not sure part of me wants France to win, but I just feel that Spain have our number. And then they followed it up in the Olympics as well, to be fair. Well, hopefully you can see me. I hope you can. Oops. Playing with a phone camera. How unprofessional. But at least you're watching this video live, hopefully. Hopefully you're watching this video live. Oh, look, I'm dying, I'm coming on, I'm waiting. Look, here I am again. This is unprofessional. Sorry about this. We will make this a lot better because what's happening is, because of the heat, it's overheating my phone, and unfortunately I'm getting the full whack of it. And maybe I need to set the time a little bit later, but the show must always go on, and I promised you a show and I will always deliver. That's one thing about me you'll always get, is that if I promise you a show, it will always come out to you. Because you guys have earned it, and you guys have followed me here, and you guys have been the best. Unfortunately, I won't be able to pick up your chat tonight, and it won't be a long show because of the heat. But I want to say thank you to Pete Chambers, Queen Ellie, Corey, and everyone else who's helped me with this channel. And thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said, I'll always be honest with you, and I'll always give you a frank assessment of what I'm seeing going on in the World Cup. And to that end, I'm looking at this game, and as a part of me is in fear because you just don't know what your mark can do. But like I say, Spain just don't concede goals. The goal against Belgium in the last round here was the last one they conceded in a very long time. And I think they haven't lost in like 68 competitive matches. That's how far their record goes back. Belgium had an impressive record going into the match, to be fair, but it was dwarfed by what Spain had achieved. And even though France haven't lost a game in a long time, I just see visions of Yamin Yamal picking the ball up and whatever this, and announcing himself to the world as a 16-year-old. And I'm skeptical about this game. I really am, from a French point of view. But then, like I said, we've got Cherky, we've got the likes of Doué, we've got the likes of Elise, who's been the player of the tournament by a long way. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Now, semi-final two is England versus Argentina. I wanted to have Corey come on so that he got another perspective as well from this show, because really and truly I needed another person. So unfortunately, yeah, once everything's sorted out, we will get Corey, we will try and get Queen Ellie on here, and we'll have some point of views, probably towards the end of the final, hopefully, if everything goes well. Let's hope the camera's working. Right, anyway. Well, Argentina versus England. Where do I start? The controversy around Argentina is the best place to start, I believe. Actually, I don't even like the controversy around Argentina. There's a lot of controversy that FIFA are trying to make the tournament so that Messi wins it and Messi's able to showcase himself at the world stage. But I don't see it. I see this as a fair competition, and Argentina have played their way into this semi-final with England. They fought tooth and nail. Games where you thought they'd be eliminated, like the Egypt game, where Egypt were 2-0 up, and Argentina come back to win the game 3-2 in normal time as well. I need to commend them. I always felt that at the time they need to be commended, because you would have thought with 10 minutes to go, if any team would think about winning 3-2, it would be Argentina, and they've done it in so much style as well. The Switzerland game, where Swiss organised, stubborn, and they sorted that defence out. And you think that they scored in the first 10 minutes. I should really thank you for purchasing this one, because, well, you know. But when they scored in the first 10 minutes, Argentina, it brought Switzerland out, because Swiss game plan there was to basically make it hard for them, defensively hard, and make themselves make it hard for Argentina to break through. And the goal from McAllister in the first 10 minutes kind of made them have to come out and play, because in a World Cup quarterfinals, yeah, it's win or lose. And Argentina scored first, and Switzerland came out. In the second half, they scored from Ndai. And it was a very good goal from Ndai, by the way. Then comes the moment of controversy. Breel Embolo decides to throw himself on the floor. And in that moment in time, it's what we call simulation. The referee went over to the third official, had a look at the camera framed, and sent the guy off. Now, in the previous match before that, England versus Norway, there was an incident where Harry Kane threw himself to the floor and simulation. Now, Embolo had their first yellow card for an innocuous challenge, and then to be second booked for the simulation, yeah, was what caused them to have a red card. Now, as we know, yeah, if you stretch the game, if against 10 men, the best thing to try and do is stretch the game as far as possible. And that's what they did. Argentina stretched Switzerland from pillar to post. And the goal from Julian Alvarez was a stunner. It flew into the top corner from over 25 yards out, and the curvature on the ball was something to behold. But this gave Argentina a 2-1, and then the third goal from our man Lautaro Martinez gave Argentina a comfortable win. And I'm watching them and I'm thinking, as the tournament goes on, you are the team that is most entertaining in the aspect of that you seem to concede goals, but you also score goals. My issue to teams who do that, yeah, is that sometimes that well dries up and you won't be able to outscore your opponent, because they'll have a strong, resolute defense and it'll be difficult for you to break it down. But it'll be interesting watching them get there. But the problem with England, and here we go to England, is in this tournament, they've been weak defensively. And Argentina, while they are weak defensively, offensively, they're so strong. And that three-man midfield, they're starting to score goals. Enzo Fernandez, McAllister, all behind Messi, score goals as well. So I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking Argentina should win this game. But we don't know in football. And momentum's actually with England, to be fair, when you think of, they've not been pretty to the eye. But then we said this before the tournament, England aren't pretty to the eye. But if they win the tournament, they're effective. And it's a saying that you might not be pretty to the eye, but it could be effective. And that's what England are. In that they're not pretty to the eye. They're a moments team where they're expecting an individual to show up and basically get them out of a jam. And in this tournament, yeah, while I don't respect Bellingham as a creative midfielder, and there's no denying that he's a big game player. And this is what I've been looking at for Harry Kane. Are you a big game player? You score in the games that aren't quarterfinals, finals. You're a very good goal scorer. But in the big games, in the games where everything's on the line and you have to win this game, do you actually show up or do you go into the shadows? And that's what I see in him. And so far, it's proved the way in this tournament again, where Harry Kane scored lots of goals in the knockout stages, but in the group stages, but in the knockout stages, so far he's not that same player anymore, and he's dropped back. But people will say that's Tuchel's formation, but is it Tuchel, or is it that Harry Kane seems to not be able to perform on the bigger stage of them all? And then I remember back to the semi-final, and this is not a Harry Kane dig-out show because, like I said before, I respect Harry Kane. But I remember back to the semi-final of the Euros, and even though England beat Denmark that day, Harry Kane missed the penalty, but then he scored the people's first reaction would be that he scored the rebound, but he still missed the penalty that day. And you look at where England are, and you need to have a talisman figure, and you need to have their captain Harry Kane perform. This is another stage for him to announce himself, that he can put himself into the frame with the likes of Mbappe, the likes of Messi, the likes of the greats of the past by performing in this tournament where the whole world is expecting you to say, look, I am the man. When you look at Gary Lineker in 1986 as the tournament goal scorer, yeah, England didn't go to the quarterfinals and ironically lost to Argentina hand of God. Sorry, Claire. There's no denying that when the time came, yeah, Gary Lineker was a big game player. Even in the semi-finals in 1990, Gary Lineker still showed up and scored the goal that gave England the equaliser in the West Germany game. But yet, unfortunately, England lost the game on penalties and the crying game, unfortunately. At least Gary Lineker showed up when they needed him to. And it's the same with Alan Shearer, to be fair. When you look at Euro 96, Alan Shearer stood up in Euro 96. And if I remember right, before the game before the first game of the tournament for England, yeah, he was actually in a goal drought, to be fair. And he stepped up in that tournament and announced himself to the world as one of the best strikers. This is what I'm waiting for Harry Kane to do. And I'll take my Spurs hat off here. And I say that I want to see him step up to the biggest stage here and announce himself to the world that you are Harry Kane and you belong in that conversation with the biggest players in the world. And so hopefully we'll see that in the semi-final against Argentina. Hopefully we'll see that possibly if they get to the final against France or Spain. The other ones that need to be accountable, I feel, are, I know they've won the league, but how good is Declan Rice be in this tournament? Elliot Anderson, who's just earned his £118 million move from Nottingham Forest to Manchester City, how has he gone on this tournament? Has he basically shown a reflection of how much he invested, have paid to get interest in him? Or have they not shown up themselves? There's a lot of question marks about England. But like I said at the start, yeah, sometimes you might not be pretty to the eye, but you're effective. And that's what's happening to them. And fair play to them, because this feels to me, yeah, like, if you remember the last Euros with England, where they looked down at the beginning, but they came through the tournament and ground their way to the final in the end. They beat Netherlands in the semi-final. And they got to the final. And when they got to the final, yeah, they met the big boy, which was Spain. And Spain outplayed them off the pitch. Now, I feel that one thing, I could say they're flat track bully in that aspect where you can beat the smaller teams, the Norways, the Mexicos. They're not really hard games for you. You just make them look harder than they are because you're that better than them. But unfortunately, the style of play has made them look like they're really bad. But like I said, it's effective. So as this match appears, I feel it's going to be one of them where Argentina get through. I hope England get through, but I feel it's going to be Argentina this time. And I feel that Romero will leave something behind. I'm hoping it's a France versus Argentina final. I really do. I would love it to be a France-Argentina final. But I believe it's going to be maybe, or a part of me feels it might be a Spain versus Argentina final. And if it is, then it'll be the master versus the young pretender. I can see it advertised as the master versus the young pretender. You've got Yamal versus, I hope this camera's working. You've got Yamal versus Messi. The master versus the apprentice. Good say. And this will be an interesting match if it was to be the case. But we'll talk about that more later on, and I'll put the phone in the fridge, and hopefully the first camera will be working so you can see me without seeing the 3 camera holes, because that's annoying. But first of all, thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry for everything that's happened tonight. Unfortunately, we will be back with a better show, I promise. Adios. Your camera, your camera, your camera, your camera, camera. You did it with the camera the wrong way around. Oh, now the first camera's working. I'm gonna kill you. Now the first camera's working. Oh, you're a pain, you're a pain, you're a pain. Get lost, get out of here. I wanna hurt you. I really do. I wanna hurt you real bad. Bad phone. Now you're over here.